Angry Bears Fan Podcast, episode 108, on the heels of the 2025 NFL Draft. Interesting choices by the Bears. Shadur Sanders slides, and a couple of other things. But before we get into it, do me a favor, like, follow, subscribe, keep it up. I appreciate there was two people who reached out to me. I didn't even know you could send DMs on YouTube, but asked me if we were doing a video on the draft. We planned on doing it a couple days ago, but life happens. We got kids, we're busy. Um, and I wanted to make sure I got notes and stuff to do very thorough because it's usually when we start getting our more viewed videos.
Yeah, I mean, you said interesting picks. I mean, I don't really know if any of them are interesting in the aspect. Maybe to us that saw, the weakness of the Bears this past season being the defensive line, and that wasn't addressed until late second rounds with the pick of Shemar, the Turner or whatever, the defensive tackle out of A&M. Especially after picking Burton the third in the second round with pick number 39. And see, this is those first two picks or whatever that's got Ben Johnson all over it. It's kind of the same issue that you had last year with them picking Rome. Was there's so many mouths to feed. I mean, you use pick number 10 on Colston Loveland, which by all accounts that's fine, right? Colston Loveland's a pass catching tight end. He's more of a wide receiver in a tight end's body. He can split out. He's a mismatched nightmare. Going up against linebacker safeties and things of that nature. But then you double down in the second round at pick number 39, and you take, Luther, the third. And it's like, I get it in a sense of, if you're going BPA, as they say, by all accounts, he was a top 15 talent. That's what a lot of people had him as. And to get him at 39 is great value. But then taking a look at, and here's the thing too, is, they used that pick on the kid out of Boston College, second round, pick number 56, after they traded back with Buffalo, 6'8", 315 pounds, mammoth of a man to play tackle, which kind of leads me to believe that, because there was, some talk with Ryan Poles and everything else like that with Braxton Jones not being ready for training camp, the possibility of taking, Darnell Wright from the right side of the line and giving him reps at left tackle on the left side of the line, because you don't draft a kid like that in the second round with the expectations of him being a rotational piece. So I think, Braxton Jones not being ready for training camp, moving Darnell right over to the left tackle spot, seeing how he does, because Amagaji's not ready. Moving Darnell right over to the left side and throwing this kid in from BC on the right side probably is what is looking like it's going to happen. Like I said, Luther Burton the third, being a top 15 talent, but you take a look at everything with, Detroit last year, all the targets and every. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown had like 140 targets, and then Jamison Williams had like 80, 90 targets. Sam Laporta had 83 targets or something like that last year. Tim Patrick only had 44 targets, and Tim Patrick was technically the wide receiver three. So if you're splitting up those targets and giving them to Bears wide receivers, you figure DJ's probably getting the bulk of the targets in that offense. So, 130, 140. Rome's probably getting 80, 90. You don't draft the tight ends at number 10 without, trying to get him 80 targets or whatever. So you draft a guy at number 39 to give him 40 targets. Rome last year had more than that. But again, there's a lot of mouths to feed. And then they go guard fourth round. They are no, I'm sorry, they go went linebacker fourth round. A linebacker that a lot of people didn't even have in the top 300. A lot of talent evaluators and everything out there thought that he was going to be an undrafted free agent. Then you went guard, and then you addressed the running back position in the seventh round. So there was a lot of things I did like, a lot of things I didn't like. There was a lot of talent at edge rusher at that 39 pick that they could have gotten. I know you're going to bring up Mike Green. I do like the running back pick out of Rutgers, the seventh round pick. The guy never fumbles. He's going to be like your goal line back. I do like the Boston College pick. That kid's very, in the second round, the tackle.
Yeah.
He's very disciplined. He didn't have a single penalty last year, from what I understand, which is really good. I mean, Luther Burton the third. Granted, He had a very productive season a couple years ago. Last year, not so much. His production dropped from 1,200 yards to 600 yards, but he didn't run a whole lot of routes last year. And Colston Loveland, you know, I like the pick only because the way that the board fell, you knew, everybody was saying that Ben Johnson wanted a shiny new toy on offense and everything else like that, being his first draft. And so I kind of understood the pick, and I wasn't too mad about it because I think he's going to be a hell of a player. I think Cole Kmet's days are numbered. Cole Kmet's already listed as tight end 2 on the depth chart, with Colston Loveland being the tight end 1. So you already know, after this upcoming year, there's an out in his contract, so they'll save, $9-10 million or whatever, and they can move on from him. So I really don't mind the pick there. He's more of a blocking tight end anyway. He doesn't really create a lot of separation, which Colston Loveland does. And you did say that if they were going to take a tight end at 10, you would much rather have it be Colston Loveland, Tyler Warren. But those are just my thoughts, little tidbits, nuggets on the draft. What about yours?
I did say that about Colston Loveland, but I just didn't want to pick a tight end at 10. I like Colston Loveland a lot. You guys know me. If you're watching, a big Michigan fan, I think Colston Loveland's going to be great. I said long before I even thought the Bears were going to take him, I thought he was better than Tyler Warren. That seemed to be it seems like Wizards are 50-50 people have Loveland rated higher than Warren. I like Loveland. I don't like the value there. I don't like you talked about and how I've talked about. There's too many mouths to feed. Kmet at least makes money. He's been a part of the offense. He's on the team, so he's going to get a decent amount of snaps. I mean, they're not just going to throw him away. But in that same sense, Ben Johnson's offense wasn't 2 tight ends weren't eating, and he has said he's going to cater to what we have, so we will see. But I didn't like the running back pick at 7. I don't see how we got out of this draft with a running back. Without a quality running back, we passed up on so many, it seems like. I guess how the board fell, kind of, we missed out on a couple. But I felt like they didn't want to reach for a running back, but they wanted to reach for a linebacker or a guard or all these things. The one pick I did like was the Luther Bird pick. Obviously, we didn't know that I didn't want to even have Roma Dunze, so to say that I like the Luther Bird pick. But like you said, the value was there. He was like a top 20 player. Travion Henderson and Judkins just got picked, multiple picks right in front of us. So I guess go best player available. And he's a Debo Samuel, DJ Moore, get him the ball, he makes plays after type of guy. So
Yeah,
you can find
6', 212, great yak guy.
Yeah, runs a 4.4. So I actually like that pick, even though I just think that was, for where they were, that was a really good pick. Thought Lovin was a reach. If it pans out, we'll see. Same with Roma Dunze, we'll see. I just feel like they've said it. Ben Johnson, Ryan Poles said we're a win now team. So to pick, I guess he's tight end 1, but even then, the tight end 1, I don't know. That's just very high in the draft. And I think there were some guys there that we could have taken, or they said people were trying to trade up as well. Maybe fall back a couple picks just to see if somebody falls in your lap. On top of Shedeur slide, Will Johnson slid. That was interesting as well. You kept saying people weren't liking his medicals. All I saw, he had like some turf toe stuff, but he didn't like blow his knee out or anything. I don't know. We'll see. But I think people are going to.
He did. So that's not entirely true. He did have a knee surgery, and the procedure was they took some of the healthy tissue and ligament out of his healthy knee and put it over to his injured knee. And the reason why people were scared off of the medicals on that is because only 2 NFL players have had that kind of surgery done before, and they came back at anywhere from 50 to 75% of what they were. Nobody to the extent of a name or talent level as Will Johnson. So you and I kind of talked about that as the draft went on about Will Johnson's falling as well as Shedeur's. You know me, I was very critical of Shedeur going into this draft. I did not have him as a first round quarterback, but I also didn't have him as a 5th round quarterback. I think it was a spit in the face. I'm not going to go Mel Kiper level tantrum, but I think it was a spit in the face to the Sanders family that the Cleveland Browns drafted fucking Dylan Gabriel ahead of them. That the Saints took, Tyler, whatever the fuck his name is, the 26-year-old. I don't know where the Shedeur slander came from. I know he, it seems like the teams don't want to deal with his father. And I guess, he didn't do himself any favors by not doing anything at the combine. Some of the
Bowl
interviews,
either, right?
Yeah,
I'm not.
some of the interviews went really well. Others, like the New York Giants, they did not go so well. But to let him fall to the fifth round, I think that's blasphemy. He's definitely better than a fifth round talent. I thought he was going to go day two. For sure, I thought he was going second round. Um, what the fuck is Pittsburgh doing? How do you
Aaron
not?
Rodgers. Before the draft, I was listening to ESPN radio, and they said that Aaron Rodgers was out uh, touring and trying to see which golf clubs in Pittsburgh he was going to join. I'm
That's
assuming that's
fine.
a part of it, but I'm assuming that's a part of him coming. He probably said, "Yeah, fine, but don't draft any. Like, I want to be
That's fine.
QB1."
Whatever. That's fine. But how long is Aaron Rodgers realistically going to be in Pittsburgh? A year or two?
No, I
You
mean I
could have
understand
gotten
that.
you could have gotten Shadur in the third or fourth round, had him on a contract for 3 or 4 years or whatever the case may be, and had your succession plan. Aaron Rodgers' biggest thing was, they took the Packers took Jordan Love in the first round. You know what I'm saying? How do you pass on a quarterback like that
What I will
in
say is,
rounds?
I don't. I'm usually one to tug on the racial strings or whatever the thing, but I think in this one, I just think um they didn't think Shador was that good. Like I don't. I think the NFL has shown time and time again that no matter how cocky you are or how many red flags you have, if you're that good, they'll take you. So I think we
I
all
mean,
were
Johnny
blinded.
Manziel went in the first round.
Yeah, because they thought he was that good. I think
I
Mel
know.
Kiper said Johnny Manziel should have been the number one pick.
I
So
know.
I
He
think
also said Shadur should have been the number one pick.
yeah. I don't know. I think that teams just truly didn't think he was as good as his hype was. I do think Dion and them didn't help that much, but I really don't think that plays too much
I
of a
can
part of it.
I can think we can all agree he's better than a fifth round talent. He should
I
not
will
have been drafted.
I will say that I agree with that. I don't know if he's better than Dylan Gabriel. Like
He's
people,
definitely better than
I
Dylan
don't know.
Gabriel.
Like what did he do in Colorado? They won 9 games one time, and he
Definitely better
had the
than
best
Dylan
player in
Gabriel.
the country to throw to.
He had no offensive line and no run game.
I mean, a lot of those
If
guys
you
don't
were
have.
just talking, hold on, timeout. What was your biggest qualm about Justin Fields? He had DJ Moore.
But what? But
They
we're
had
talking
no
about.
offensive line. They had no offensive
But
line
we're
and no
talking
run
about
game.
college.
Oh, so a quarterback's quarterback.
No, college is
How can one be different than the other? How could you say
how
that?
could probably be because Cam Newton's a perfect example. When you're a superhero, you go win games. Like that's just what it is. Like, and they
But
won
Dylan
nine.
Gabriel's not a superhero. They went undefeated. It wasn't because of Dylan fucking Gabriel.
I don't
It's
know.
because he had a great offensive line and a
I think
great
they had a
running game.
really good team and that played a part, sure. But I don't know if I don't know if you could just throw anybody in there and they would have went undefeated. I don't know if that's true.
Come
I
on
don't know if
now.
that's a fair assessment. I'm just
You
saying I don't know if Colorado's that good. You've been on the like I don't know. I don't. Is it arm talent? He don't got a big arm. He's not a runner. I just think he had some good years. He's got Dion's genetics. Everyone likes Dion, and we want him to be great. He's got greatness in his DNA. But to say that 100% he's better than I don't know if he's like we'll see. We're going to see 100%. I mean,
oh,
they're going
we're
to be
gonna
going head to
find
head.
out.
And I'd like to find out. I'm just saying I don't know if 100%. I don't know if Dylan Gabriel was a highly talented recruit. He played decent at Oklahoma. He played as good as Shador did. He did as good as Shador did at fucking Oklahoma as he did at Colorado, and he didn't have Travis Hunter to throw to. Um, yeah, his offensive line sucked, but he had two wide receivers who got drafted in the NFL. I mean, a running back who got drafted as well. So it's not like he was just out there playing with fucking scrubs, and they couldn't even win the weak ass conference. So I don't. We'll see. I'm rooting for him, but I don't know. I don't think he should have been a fifth round pick. But I don't think it's this conspiracy or teams didn't like him or they wanted to put him in his place or humble him. I just think they didn't think he was that good.
I
And
don't think it was a conspiracy
I,
either, and
I think
I'm on that train with you.
yes, I think it's a little more so. He's a victim of his own popularity, akin to Tebow. Obviously, I think he's a better quarterback than Tebow, but he can't be your backup quarterback. I don't think it's going to work with Shador as your backup quarterback unless your QB1 is a stud. Because as soon as Joe Flacco or Dylan Gabriel, whoever's throwing picks on the Cleveland Browns, they're going to want to see him. Talk radio, the fans, everybody, they're going to want to see him. So I think that played more of a part than anything, where it's like they think he's a developmental QB, but his dad's going to be talking about him every week. ESPN's gonna be talking about him every week, and nobody wants to be talking about their backup quarterback. They don't want their team answering questions about the backup quarterback every week, and that's just what it is. But and like I said, he's a victim of his own success or popularity or whatever you want to call it. But nobody wants their backup quarterback to be literally the most popular. Like the joke is the backup quarterback's the best job on the team, most popular guy, everybody likes him. But you don't want people asking you questions about your backup quarterback. Like that doesn't happen. Do the Bears ever get any questions asked about Tyson Bagent? Maybe you know what I mean? Somebody gets hurt or his dad says some silly shit, but nobody cares about Tyson Bagent. Caleb Williams throws picks. The consensus of Bears fans aren't clamoring for Tyson Bagent to come in. And that's what's going to happen anywhere Shedeur Sanders goes that isn't behind Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Burrow, and he don't want to be in those situations anyway. So that's where I see it as. I think a lot of teams think he wouldn't be ready to go, and that nobody wants that sideshow on their team. I love Deion, but if I was an NFL coach, I wouldn't want Deion Sanders' son, especially a quarterback, the backup on my team where the regular quarterback is just average or he's not doing that well. Because Deion answers questions. He's going to get asked questions. He's going to get cameras in his face 10 times a week the entire NFL season. And that's just what it is. And like I said, that's his journey. That's a part of his life. He's a victim of their family success. But, well, like, he'll get a chance. He's on a team where he has a legitimate chance to start. He was a fifth-round pick. They don't get 4-year deals, right? The fifth-round picks.
I don't know. 3 years.
So he's on like a shorter deal. If he does really good, they'll have to restructure him right away, and prove it. I'm rooting for him. I think teams didn't think he was good. You didn't think he was that good. I was never overly impressed. I like to tune into the games. I like Deion. I was more rooting for his dad than him, but clearly people weren't impressed. I was shocked that the kid Tyler Shuck or Show or whatever got picked for him. That was concerning. Dylan Gabriel, I don't know. I didn't know why people were so down with Dylan Gabriel. I know he went to Oregon, and those quarterbacks like Ohio State kind of get a mantra because they play a certain way. But I think there's a place for that in the NFL. We saw Bo Nix come in. I think Dylan Gabriel's more talented than Bo Nix. Bo Nix had the same
I don't know about that.
He had the same super team as fucking Dylan Gabriel, and he also was like a fucking 6-year senior or whatever the fuck he was, and they did the same thing in the same offense. So why can't Dylan Gabriel step in and be let's say 80% of Bo Nix then?
Well, let me ask you this question off the heels of the draft. What was your best moment in the draft? Like, who had in your opinion, what was the best pick of the draft, whether it be Bears, whoever, and what was the worst pick in your opinion?
The best pick, I think, was just a culmination of Cleveland trading back and getting Mason Graham. I think he's a lock and he's going to just be a fucking stud. On top of that, I think the Giants had a great draft. I don't know much about Jackson Dart, but I like the dual Carter pick, and you go up, you get your guy. I think I'm assuming that's exactly how they wanted it to go. Worst pick, I don't like Genty for the Raiders. And I know I've been down on Genty. It's just like, and I'm harping on the Bears getting a running back, but pick 6 for a running back, I don't know. Like those guys.
He's the second highest paid running back in the league right now.
Oh wow. I didn't even think about. Oh man.
Yes.
And historically, we grew up in a different time where that did happen and it was worth it. But now it just seems like those guys go to the bad teams, get the shit kicked out of them, get injured a couple times, and then they get traded somewhere else and have a couple good years. But it just doesn't seem to pan out. A running back, unfortunately, cannot change your fortunes. And I know everybody wants to point towards Saquon Barkley, but the Eagles were good without him. They went to the fucking Super Bowl with DeAndre Swift at quarterback or running back. So he plugged into a great situation and he put them over the top for sure. He was their MVP and he played great. But if your team sucks, Ashton Genty's not pulling you off in the dump. So we'll see. I'm sure they'll be. I mean, they got a great coach. They got a veteran quarterback. I'm sure they'll be okay. I thought they could have done a lot more. I mean, I would have traded back if I was them. If I was anybody in the position of taking Genty with that pick, I would trade back. If you're thinking my team, so like I don't know. I didn't like the Genty pick for him, and I didn't like Will Johnson sliding. I don't see it. I didn't know in particularly what the surgery was. I just knew it wasn't like he didn't have like an ACL injury or anything like that where he was out for the season. I know he was going through some stuff, but I didn't know.
Yeah, teams just feared a degenerative.
I think they will regret that because I think Will Johnson is great. and those other corners weren't that good. I was interested the Jags trading that much to move up to get Travis Hunter. I know he's a Florida kid. The Cons are a wrestling family, so I know they might run it more so. They want stars, so that makes sense to me. Where they're like, we want Travis Hunter. He's going to sell a lot of jerseys. He's going to sell a lot of tickets. I mean, and he's a great football player. I'd be curious to think how you think how they're going to use him. I saw that he was going to be mostly wide receiver and split time at cornerback. That seemed like I don't know. I always envisioned
I
him.
think he's a better corner than he is
Yes,
a
I
wide
agree.
receiver.
I think he should play like 100% of the time at corner and like 40% of the time wide receiver. If he wants to do both. I don't know if
I agree.
it's going to pan out, but uh, I am of the mindset that the players nowadays get hurt more because they practice less and all that stuff. But it just every time they snap the ball, you're in the position to fucking get injured. So the more snaps he's out there, and he's a little guy. Um, and this also is another thing I was talking about earlier. He really didn't go up against anybody either. I mean, Tech McMillan, who was the number one wide receiver drafted, but it was a down year for wide receivers. People were up in the air on him. He didn't
That was
on either
that
side
was
of the ball.
actually
He didn't go against any corners or anything. So we'll see. And he's not a freak athlete. I mean, he is fast. He jumps high, but not outside of the NFL norms. He's like a 4.4 guy. You know what I mean? At this point in our lives, like I'm guessing half the wide receivers in the NFL are running a 4.4.
yeah,
Something like it.
The T Mac is on the T Mac draft pick by the Carolina Panthers was one of my bad draft picks. I know they want to get help for their young quarterback, but as you and I both know, the best thing for a young quarterback besides offensive line, if you're looking for a weapon, is a tight end. So I'm kind of
Yeah,
surprised they
they
didn't
should have
go
went
tight
more.
end there, especially with two tight ends on the board that I felt, Bryce Young could have really used, especially as a security blanket, in both Colston Loveland
I was
and
honestly shocked though. We watch a lot of coverage. I do a lot of studying. I didn't really think Loveland was on the Bears' radar like that. They did a good job of keeping that low key. I honestly didn't think at 10 in the 10 spot that Loveland was in play. I did not think that. I was very shocked about it. I'm happy in the sense that I like Colston Loveland. And I think he's a great football player and he's a good kid. He works hard. And I was always adamant that you throw him on Penn State, throw him the ball 150 times, he'd do just as good, if not better than Warren. He just was in a different situation, more of an NFL situation in particular. But I'm glad we got him. He didn't run that well, but he's just a good football player. He's really good. Like you said, mismatch nightmare. He runs really good routes, and he gets first downs, which is not a stat that they highlight a lot. They keep it, but he moves the sticks.
yeah.
But I like the Luther Burden pick too. I didn't know much about him, but I looked up his stats. I watched him a little bit. I don't watch a lot of SEC football, but um, his
1,200
production,
yards in 2023 is pretty damn impressive.
yes,
I just know, maybe it's product of the quarterback this past season, quarterback play and stuff like that, why he dipped from 1,200 to 600, but their super senior, their redshirt senior wide receiver, actually went up in yardage by about 250, 300 yards. So, the ideology around that is, okay, how come, he played better, how come he got better, but Luther Burton didn't. He didn't. I watched a little bit after the pick. I didn't know much about him either, so I did kind of just look around. It didn't seem like he ran a whole lot of routes from the route tree. I saw a lot of fades. I saw a lot of posts. I saw a
yeah,
lot of screens, but not nothing too sophisticated in that route tree, which was almost complete opposite of Roma Dunze. Roma Dunze was more of a route tree kind
oh
of
yeah,
guy where he can, run any route. I can't say the same thing about Luther Burton, but the fact that they got a top 15 talent at, pick 39, you can't
yeah.
call that anything other than a win, at least on paper. We'll see how that plays out. You aren't big on the running back pick in the seventh round. I am. I love it because you need a second running back. I mean, granted, they're going to bring in a veteran most likely. I'm kind
I
of
was thinking
hoping
about
they
that,
go.
Chubb.
Well, I'm actually hoping they bring in Dobbins more than Chubb because Chubb's, getting up there in age. He's only played 10 games the last 2 years. J.K. Dobbins is 26. He's going to be 27 going into the season. And if you have a guy with injury history, I'd much rather take the younger guy with injury history than, Nick Chubb, who's going to be pretty much 30. But I like the kid out of Rutgers. So you know who else was a 7th round pick out of Rutgers? Isaiah Pachenko. They're
Oh, he
sneaky
went to
good.
Rutgers. I thought
Yes,
he went
they're
to Iowa State.
Rutgers is sneaky good with developing solid, maybe not superstar running backs, but solid. You know he's not going to fumble the ball on the goal line. He's going to be kind of your bruising back, goal line back. He's a first, second down back that could play more so than DeAndre Swift, who's more of a third down back anyway. But I can see where he scores the first touchdown for the Chicago Bears this year. I see him playing that role. We also got to remember that that Wheeler's coming back. The kid from Hard Knocks from last year tore his ACL. Kid's got a lot of speed. We'll see how he recovers. But I do think they bring in a veteran. And like I said, personally, I would more so like to see J.K. Dobbins over Nick Chubb, just because I don't know what Nick Chubb's got left, especially that devastating knee injury. And then he broke his foot at the end of last year, too. So it's just very tough to, kind of bring in a guy who's 30 that's only played 10 games the last 2 years. I'd much rather give that shot to J.K. Dobbins. 4 years younger, going to be 3 years younger when the season starts, age 27. And he ran for over 900 yards last year. So I'd much rather give that a shot than Nick Chubb. But I feel like the Bears front office coaching staff, they're very comfortable with what they have on the offense and the defense, especially the moves that they made in free agency. From what I understand, Javon Dexter has slimmed down. I see him, there's a lot of talk about him, kind of moving out to edge and playing the outside a little
Same
bit.
thing about Turner, too.
You know what I'm saying? Well, Shemar Turner played, all 5 spots. He played the 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 techniques all throughout college. He's a bigger boy, but at the same time, you got your run stuffing formations, you got your pass rushing formations. So if you could throw a whole bunch of hogs and big boys at the line, in a goal line situation or a run stopping situation, that also has its benefits as well. But I mean, Dennis Allen's scheme is more so getting pressure up the middle. I know we talked about this with Matt Eberflus's defense as well, because Matt Eberflus's defense is the same thing. But I'm expecting Gravon Dexter to take a step forward this year. I'm expecting Austin, the kid from Kansas State. I'm expecting him to take a step up this year. At least that's the hope, right? That's what you're hoping for. Austin Booker is his name. You're hoping for those extra steps from these guys. The Grady Jarrett signing, you got Billings coming back. You signed Deo in the offseason to play. So I'm thinking that they're like, okay, you know what? We can develop these guys. And I'm going to trust them until they're proven otherwise. They did leave some talent on the board, absolutely, 100%. Not everything's going to be a hit. A lot of teams left a lot of talent on the board. We're just more critical of the Bears because we're fans of them. But in the grand scheme of things, like you were saying, it's win now, win now, win now, win now, win now. Ryan Poles, he made these draft picks in correlation with Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen. I know Antoine Randall was very excited to get Burton the third. I know Al Harris was Al Harris came in, like a week before the draft and told Ryan Poles to get this kid out of, Texas, San Antonio,
UTSA.
UTSA. And he's a big guy, 6'3", 186. I mean, he needs to add some weight to him, but 6'3", that's a big corner. That's a big corner. You know what I'm saying? So I'm excited to see what this new coaching staff can do, because we talked about it. The best kind of coaching staff are the coaching staffs that have former players on their coaching staff. Eric Bieniemy, coaching the running backs, former running back. Al Harris coaching the DBs, former defensive back. Antoine Randall, coaching the wide receivers, former wide receiver. J.T. Barrett, while he was never an NFL pro, he was one of the greatest college quarterbacks of all time, and he's coaching quarterbacks.
I don't know about
that. That's what we were talking about in terms of the coaching staff, because now maybe Thomas Brown, I think, was the only coach from the previous coaching staff, previous regime, that had any kind of NFL experience. And the NFL coaches that we got on our coaching staff are all guys that played pretty much for 10 plus years in the league. They know.
Well, I am happy about the staff. I gave the draft a B.
Realistically, I was in the B- B range. But that could always change.
Yeah,
depending on how these picks turn out.
I mean, if Colston Loveland, catches 70 or 80 balls and scores 7 touchdowns, then I'll eat my words. And I like Loveland. I'm glad he's a Bear. I wish we draft more Michigan players. But I don't. I guess I just wait and see what Ben Johnson's going to do. If he's gonna help us win right now, then it was a great pick because I wanted them to pick people who are going to be inserted to help us win games right now. And that's what I'm hoping to see. And I like you said, Shemar Turner is a jack of all trades, so we should be able to get him on the field. The tackle's a mauler. I like him. I think Braxton Jones is going to be ready. He's going to be there. And honestly, wouldn't they move? I guess unless they've got some kind of deal with Tooney where he says I only want to play guard, I imagine they would move him out and somebody else in one of the
I
vets.
really think Darnell Wright moves to left tackle this
That's
year.
why. Oh yeah, well, yeah. But what I'm saying is, if Tooney would go to tackle and then so whatever tackle that is, and then they insert them. But I think I don't know. I've always been pretty high on Braxton Jones. I think he's just fine. I think he could be better. Obviously, he's not elite, but I don't think he was an issue. I think the offensive line as a whole, play calling, young quarterback, all played a part in putting him out on an island or exposing it and making him look bad sometimes. When they didn't have to. But I am excited for the season as always, and I'm ready to see Colston Loveland in the Bears jersey. I'm hoping they can. I'm guessing they're done with Roshan and Tyler Scott. It feels that way with some of these picks. Like you said, Cole Kmet, he's going to be out the door soon. I don't envision, like you said, Ben Johnson doesn't have a two tight end offense. You don't draft a guy at pick 10 to not throw him the majority of the passes. I like Kmet, good kid. He can block, but for whatever reason, him and Caleb
You're
are hooked
not
up.
paying a backup tight end $14 million.
Yes. Honestly, I was thinking about that. I think they actually did draft. Maybe they did draft the tight end, but I was thinking the Jets better get on the phone. If Justin Fields and Kmet for whatever reason had a little bit of a connection. Jets got the money. Maybe get a fifth or sixth or something for him at least. But it was a very interesting draft. Shedeur obviously being the story of it, just sitting around for 2 days and thinking he was going to be top 10.
How about that prank that he got on him?
Oh,
that
was
was
funny.
just cruel.
I think again, this is one of these things too where I like people. That shit happens every year, and like people are making a big deal out of it. Like every year, the story comes out that some player got prank called. Every single year. And that because it's Shedeur now it's like this horrible thing. Like it was just
it's
sad
always
because
horrible. It's
I mean
always
I do
horrible.
think it's a bad thing. I just think it's a crude joke. Like I don't know, horrible. Like people are jerks. Like fucking. But I thought it was funny though, and it turned out to be the defensive coordinator of the fucking Falcons' son, which is crazy. I know that guy's got to be livid when you see that video going around. But yeah, that was the 2025 draft. The Bears did Bears things. We just have to wait and see. I know for a fact that's not how the draft any of us expected the draft to go, besides Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles, and even them. I don't know. I don't think they thought that Judkins, Henderson, Hampton would all have gotten picked. Right. I think even Caleb Johnson got picked before then too. Right? Maybe.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't think they thought all four of those guys were going to get picked in the second round right before they picked. So I think that put them in a trick bag. So we'll see. If they go out and get Chubb or even Dobbins or somebody, I'll be fine. I think what the draft did show us is that they're comfortable with all the moves they made in free agency. Tight end was an extra piece. I mean, it would be nice to have him, and I'm sure we'll have a weapon. But in theory, Kmet would have been adequate. The tight end he probably wouldn't have been the reason we had a bad season. It wouldn't have been Kmet's fault.
Yeah.
And Burden then was also a luxury pick. Then we pick a tackle who's going to be a backup at least for another year, maybe two. And even Turner is going to be a rotational piece. Unless he's playing D end, I don't know if there's a path for him to be a starter next year. So it made us seem like it's showing us that they're comfortable with the team we got already. Like these guys are just accessories to what we got going on. But I am excited to see Loveland go. I'm excited to see year 2 of Caleb under a competent coaching staff with, like you said, filled with ex-players. And not like the ex-players, like no offense to Dion, he's doing a good job in Colorado, but not the guys like Dion who are like superheroes. Like Antoine Randall was the undersized guy who obviously was a stud. If people our age know all about, he was a quarterback, got switched to wide receiver. He was great and he was good, but he was a little guy, bounced around. He was the third option on some teams, second option. He was scrappy and he proved. Same with Al Harris. And we know him well. And So I do like that.
Yeah, I mean, my sentiments exactly. I'm excited. I'm excited for the season. Let's fucking go already.
Yeah.
Um, mini camp and everything. OTA start. Schedule releases next month.
Oh
So
yeah. Schedule release.
let's just fucking go.
And all right, and one thing
Props
too.
to Seth
Oh,
Rollins
oh,
announcing that pick was fucking great.
it was, and I was just gonna say something along those lines. As much as I hate Green Bay, that whole thing was pretty awesome. I thought the it was pretty cool in the parking lot or whatever, and where they had it. I thought it was dope when they kept showing the shots from people like in their garage
Yep.
and everybody in the thing. So I thought that was cool. At first, when they were leaving New York, I thought it was going to be kind of silly, but I really thought this last one was cool, and it was funny seeing Clay Matthews said that. He's like, "Oh, I talked to Donald Trump," and he said the
The
Bears suck. Like,
Bears
I thought
still
that was,
suck.
I thought that was great. But all right, thanks for tuning in again. Like, follow, subscribe, and we'll be back next week for more coaching analysis on the Bears draft. Adios.
Adios.